The project for this video is the replacement of the trim and tilt piston seals on this 2002 Yamaha 90 two-stroke. You can see that the seals are weeping . The tools were purchased from a company called Marine Tech Tools. I reviewed their products online before making the purchase. They also have some helpful videos. This is the 32S using the S4 pins that they supply, and this works on the trim caps. The 38S using the same S4 pins that they supply will work on the tilt cap. After positioning the outboard on the service support legs, I'm going to turn the manual release to take the pressure off of the hydraulics inside the trim tilt unit. All right, there's one loose. That was on extremely tight. And on that one, I broke a pin off. I don't know if the other pins will have enough grip to get it off or not. There we go. I'm going to use a turkey baster to get as much of this fluid out as I can.
due to rain, I had to reinstall the trim caps to keep water from going into the cylinders.
Finally, it just took a 24-inch breaker bar to do it. The snap ring has been removed from the pivot pin. Now I'm going to get as much of this fluid out of the cylinder before I pull this piston out. This is looking down into the tilt piston. This is some kind of a follower from what I remember on the parts diagram. I'd like to get that out. I'm going to try to put some transmission fluid in here to try to get the tilt unit to push that out, because I do have some replacement parts for the back side of it. I've added some hydraulic fluid to the trim cylinders in an attempt to try to get this tilt follower out of this hole here.
This is one of the rookie mistakes that a first-time do-it-yourselfer on this job makes. I had to reinstall the trim pistons and caps, fill the reservoir with fluid, and then use the trim motor to force the tilt piston follower up and out of the cylinder.
Alright, let's see what happens.
It is learning mistakes like this that cost so much time when a do-it-yourselfer is working on a job.
And come on, just a little bit more. And there it is. Yay! In case it starts raining again, I don't want water getting down inside these cylinders. Okay, now I'm going to replace the seals on the trim caps one at a time. Actually, I can see some movement right here. That's good. There we go. Finally. Let's get this one installed, and we'll work on the other one. Let me get a socket for that. One down. Put a new O-ring on here. Alright, and I need to get these O-rings and backer rings replaced on the trim rams, and then these will be done. One and two. All right, the trim rings are done. I'm going to take them off the bench. What do you call that? Screw, bolt, Torx T30, screw or bolt, whichever. I'm going to have to figure out a better way to grip this to take it off.
I'm having some overheating issues with the GoPro cameras, and they stopped recording without me knowing. I took the tilt sub-assembly and clamped it into a bench vise and removed the T30 bolt from the valve assembly. Okay, found another Torx bit and was able to get this screw on the end started. So I'm going to take it off and be very careful with these parts that are inside. The washer.
All right, they're not under any pressure. That's good. Looks like there could have been some Loctite on those threads. See? I'm not sure. There's another washer. So there's a washer on both sides. This side, this is a very thin, man, that is super thin. And that goes up against this piece right here. I'll be able to tell that because of the marks here. All right, let's take each one. Let me get something to hold these before I take them out. 5 springs. Oh, I guess that goes, I don't know where that went. Better figure that out. It goes up inside the spring. And then this, let's see if I can figure, here's one that's still together. So we got this little piece here, and there's a little rod inside. That's the way it's got to go back together. And then that sets on top of the ball bearing in there. One, two, three, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, where's the bearings? 1, 2. So there must be some more bearings in here. Yep, I can see them. So there's my 5 bearings. Now I've got all my parts. Now I just don't knock this over. And now we got to get this piece off of here. And I'm going to try to do that over on the vise.
With the piston sub-assembly locked in place in the vise, I put a drill bit and a screwdriver which fit perfectly with no slack movement at all into the holes in the sub-assembly. I then used a pry bar and gently pushing in between the two, the bit and the screwdriver, I broke the valve assembly free from the tilt ram.
Okay, back on the workbench. Let's get the seal out of this trim cap. That is out. I may have to hit this with some brake cleaner just to clean it up. I got another washer down inside here I've got to get out. And there is a plastic split ring right here. It's got to come out. The plastic split ring goes above the washer, or above that O-ring. Goes like that. I don't know if that's dirt or what. I'm going to hit it with the brake cleaner and I'll be right back. All right, let me get these parts. Got a little bit of brake cleaner still in there, I guess. Slide this in first. Make sure it's overlapping, and it is. Now let's get this little O-ring in, and it will sit right behind that white split ring, just like that, if you can see. All right. Again, the lip goes up to the atmosphere. Alright, looks like that's the one I want right there. Would this be safer? This might be a little bit safer knocking down inside there so I don't hit the sides. And that's in. Now let's get this O-ring replaced. Alright, let me go ahead and replace these. The backup washer goes below the O-ring. At least that's the way I'm going to reinstall it.
Again, due to camera issues, I did not show sliding the cap back onto the ram and threading the valve body back onto the bottom of the ram on the vise.
Let's see, probably be easier if I put the, yeah, just got it dirty. Alright, they're replaced. Throw these away. And now let's get this valve assembly put back together. Putting one ball bearing in each one of these holes. I'm gonna have to turn this on its side to get these springs and end caps on, or in. There's one. And then one of these little rods goes in each one of those springs. I have no idea what how all this functions. It's just how it was assembled, and I'm putting it back the same way. Put this shim over top of the centerpiece here. Put our retainer plate, our washer, and our T30 Torx bit holds it all in place. I'm gonna go put this on the bench, tighten it up. And the last thing is the O-ring for the cap. Put the bushings back in, the pivot part of the tilt unit, and ready to go install. I almost forgot to change the O-ring on the follower. Looking good. Now we're ready to install everything. It never fails when I'm working on a project, it starts raining. Lift up the outboard, get a rag down and tilt the cylinder. Mop up anything that's in there. I'm going to do the same for the trims. Lower this back down onto the service legs first. Now I'm going to start filling the trim cylinders. starting to rain again. Alright, here's my little fill apparatus. Small funnel with a section of tubing on it.
The rain distracted me and I forgot to turn the camera back on before installing the tilt sub-assembly. You simply reverse the removal process, fill the cylinder half full of fluid, install the follower, then raise the outboard so that you have room to insert the sub-assembly into the cylinder. Carefully align it and then lower the outboard down onto the ram. Then you can install the pivot pin and the snap ring. In this video I installed a snap ring much later.
Alright, I'm going to fill, I've got the reservoir fairly full. I'm going to plug it, and then I'm going to put this on manual release again, lower it down, and then raise it back up a couple of times and try to bleed all the air out of it. And then this job will be done. Let me get the snap ring on the pivot pin. Alright, that's in place. Back the camera up just a little bit so I can operate the outboard. Lift the outboard up, take it off the service pins, and now I'm going to slowly let her down using the manual release.
see what she does.
I can hear air in there.
I'm going to go ahead and end the video here because this is already a very long video. It's not a technically challenging job. You just have to have some basic mechanical skills, as you can see. I just wanted to detail every single aspect of the job. All that is left is a series of repetitions to bleed the system, raise the outboard using the trim motor. Once it locks up, open the reservoir, top it off, close the reservoir, open the manual bleed valve, lower the outboard down. Do this a couple of times until there is no air in the system and the outboard moves very fluidly. I highly recommend the Marine Tech tools that I used in this job. I will leave a tool list and a parts list in the video description. Thank you for watching.